All right, what's up, my brothers from another mother? I'm on with Rollo Tomassi of the Rational Mail series. We're going to be going through a bunch of questions today on Q&A that I solicited through some social media platforms. Those of you that are familiar with Rollo need no introduction. Those that aren't, I'm going to leave some links in the description below for his work, to his books and to his blog. Rollo's a red pill pioneer and a guy that I can say for myself personally has opened my eyes to the way the world works. And I know he's woken up a lot of guys that have been sleepwalking through their life as well. So we're going to get a bunch of questions today. Leave a comment below and smash the like button and show this to somebody that might need to see it. All right, Rollo, I get this question that comes up from guys that are older than me, because a lot of the videos that I do, I've given tips on dating advice in your 20s and your 30s and even 40s. I haven't hit 50 yet. Let's say you're to dispense some advice to men in their 50s. I know you haven't hit that yet. I think you're on the precipice. You're 49, 50?
I'll be 50 next year.
Awesome. So what advice would you give to guys your age, or what would you do yourself? Let's say Mrs. Tomassi, and she's a beautiful lady, I've met her, says, Rollo, it's run its course. Let's part our separate ways. What dating advice would you take upon yourself?
That's a tough one because I get this a lot too, because people always say, people like to think that I'm all very much pro-marriage, and I'll say this for the record right now, that were something like that to happen, I would not get married again. And the reason I say that is not because I think marriage is this horrible, horrible thing, but I think that in today's world, the way that marriage has become, has been arranged, for us by, again, a feminine primary social order. The way that it's been arranged is that it is far too dangerous, I think, for particularly a mature man to get back into the dating or get back into the marriage side of things. Although that is primarily what most of those guys want. And I think that understanding yourself and really, asking yourself what it is that you want to do from there on, because I think that a lot of guys, particularly when they get into their later years, and myself included, I'm not going to disqualify myself. I have a lot invested in my marriage. I've got a 19-year-old daughter who's just, a fantastic human being, gorgeous, smart. She's away at college right now. I've got a great life going with my wife. She's fantastic. She looks good. But beyond that, I have family investments in that. I have personal investments in my marriage. I've got even my dogs are an investment in that particular relationship. So there's a lot that depends on my being connected with my wife right now. So now let's just say you erase that connection now. And so what I think a lot of guys do is they look at a loss of investment, and a very, very deep loss of investment. The older you get and the more time you had spent with that particular woman. I mean, if a man is widowed from his wife, that's one thing. It's another thing to have a woman, say, it's over, I'm out, see you tomorrow, whatever. There's a sense of loss, and there's always going to be that sense of loss, because guys particularly blue pill guys, tend to invest themselves in what I call relational equity, and they believe that what they have put into that relationship is what should sustain that relationship. And I constantly tell people, I've got, like I said, you probably read it, I've got a chapter in the book called The Myth or the Fallacy of Relational Equity. And it's these guys who say, I put so much of myself into this. I was a good dad. I did our daughter's homework. I did, I changed the diapers. I always held a job. I've always been a good provider. I've always been, I have all of this personal equity that's involved in this relationship. How could she possibly leave me? And I'll tell you right now that all of that relational equity means nothing to hypergamy. Hypergamy doesn't care about relational equity. I'm not saying that all women are these horrible, evil women, evil bitches who would never appreciate that. But when it comes to the hypergamous equation with women, that is a very minor part of what her hindbrain is telling her when it comes to hypergamy. Now, it's not going to say that, like all the guys always constantly tell me, they say, oh, does that mean that she's always looking for the next best dude? And I'm like, well, in a way, yes, but in a way, no, because there's still a balance between what her own self-image is and what she thinks she can realistically get. I think that a lot of guys who would be in a situation where they would lose their wives at, 39 or 50 years old, I think that they feel like that equity should have sustained that, but it didn't sustain that. They're really asking themselves, why didn't that work? Why isn't, maybe it's just me, maybe it's her. And they're trying to build this psychological, mechanism, the psychological scaffolding around themselves that, as to build these reasons why, rather than looking at the basic, fundamental reasons for a woman to leave. Have you become really, really super beta? Has she, have you let yourself go and she still looks gorgeous? Is she thinking that she can get with a better guy than you? We're always talking about how, the hypergamy is based on doubt. And what that doubt always comes back to is he the best that I can do? And she's asking herself this question at various phases of her life. I had a guy that I counseled, actually. He was a pastor at a church, and he had a really, gorgeous model quality wife, and they had built a life together. They had 4 kids. She still looked good. He was in pretty good shape. He was trying to keep himself up with her, but very, very beta, and she was looking for that super alpha dude. And they had 20 plus years of marriage under their belts by that point. And here she gets to a point, and she's at 38 or 39 years old, or maybe 40, still looks good. And she asked herself that question: can I do better than this guy? And the answer for her at that time was yes. And so she ended up abandoning the family, going and she found this guy who was a bodybuilder at one of the local gyms, and she, started taking up with this guy. And the kids were sort of lost in the balance. And you want to talk about things that are invested into a particular marriage. This guy had 4 kids that were lost in that. Her just basically, what Dalrock would call exploding the marriage,
mm-hmm.
detonating the marriage. And so, is a woman always going to say, well, I'm always going to go for the next hottest guy? No, she's always going to be, she's always going to have that hypergamous nature to her when it comes to ovulatory shift and things like that. But that doesn't mean she's going to act on that. People think that, like we were just talking about a minute ago, people think that hypergamy is something that a woman can't control. She can control it. She does quite a bit. But I think that, men, particularly my age, if you find yourself in that situation, you really need to get a good understanding of what it is that happened that led up to that particular point. And then, reassess what you have, reassess where you're at in life. I've counseled guys who are like older than you, who are just loving life right now. And they didn't know that it could be so good for them, because now they're set free. They're still in fairly good shape, and they're in high demand because they're made. They've got a great career. Maybe they lost a good chunk of change in the divorce, but they made a lot of money. They know who they are. They've built themselves up. They still look good. And you look at a woman who's like in her mid 30s who is still unmarried. The likelihood that she's going to get married is next to nothing right now. There's a new graph that's floating around about the statistical probability of women getting married at different ages. And once they get to about 32 or 33, it just drops off a cliff.
Yeah.
So you suddenly become a guy who becomes a very, very high value guy right after your divorce. You might not think so at the time, and you might be beating yourself up, and you might be, oh, woe is me. Things were so great when I was married. And then you got the guy who's saying, well, now it's a whole lot better because I don't have to listen to this bitch. I don't have to constantly qualify myself to somebody who's never going to appreciate that. So I think that guys in my demographic and in your demographic really need to reassess what it is that they have. I've got a guy on my site. I won't name his name, but the guy is 54, 55, and just today he was saying that life is so much better than just 4 years ago when he got divorced, because now he understands. Now he has red pill awareness. Now he knows how to play the game. Now he knows what game has been played on him.
Yeah.
And so I would say that guys who are coming out of that and they become red pill aware at 45 years old, let's just say round it up at 45 years old, you got no reason to self-pity, because you are in a prime situation to really reinvent yourself, first of all, and do so with full knowledge of what you probably didn't know when you got married in the first place.
Yeah. So I think the way the question was asked, if I was reading it correctly, is what would your dating strategy be if you're going to avoid the elements of marriage just because of the consequences that we live in today? But like, would it be spin plates? Would you ever take a LTR on, or would it be just kind of do your own thing?
If I were, I'm going to talk about myself. If I were to be in that situation, I would definitely go back to spinning plates. That'd be the first thing I would do. It's kind of unfair for me because I'm Rollo Tomassi. I've written 3 books about this stuff. So I think it's safe to say I'm pretty red pill aware. I know what to expect from women, and I know what to expect from them at different ages of their lives. Would I date, 18 to 20, would I date girls in my daughter's age? Probably not. I would certainly look into the later 20s aspect, because really, or like just what we were talking about a little while ago, is when we talked about the epiphany phase and women who are in that state of mind where they think that they're going to settle down. If I really want to go black pill or black knight on this, it would be a very easy thing for me to go and manipulate women of that particular demographic, because I know what they're looking for, and I know how I could present myself in such a way that that I could make the best of that and spin a lot of plates in the late 20s to early 30s demographic, if that's what I was prone to do. I think that would probably be where I would hit it. And I would hit it because I think, first of all, that's the time of a woman's life where she's at her most uncertain and she's at her most necessitous. And if you find a girl who's good looking and hot around that time, I would never. I mean, again, don't marry them. I'll go Sheryl Sandberg on you. Don't marry them. In fact, I would say if it were me at 50 years old, I would not marry again. Simply because I don't want to have to go through all the stuff that I had gone through before. And I don't think that's really fair for women who are looking to build a life and hoping to put something together with a guy, and they're really ready to settle down, and suddenly here comes this 45-year-old guy who's got his own business, and he's got his own cars, and he's got his shit together, and he's so different from all these younger guys that she's been with. A lot of women like to say that they would never go out with an older guy, but I constantly see examples of this happen all the time.
Dude, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And so it's like I would hit that demographic. I would also remind myself that certainly spin plates.
Cool.
I would hit that demo, and then also I would make sure that I had a good assessment of my own life, and not to allow my dating and to allow my new single life to affect my overall life. That would just be another aspect. It would just be a
complement
of my life. A complement, exactly. A complement to my life rather than being the focus of my life.
Got it. All right, cool. Thanks for that one. All right, Rollo, I just want to thank you for your time today. Really appreciate that. Again, links are in the description below. If you guys have a comment, please do so. Leave something down there, smash the like button, and share this with somebody that might need to see it. Thanks, Rollo.